Hi, my dear Astro family. Today we are going to be looking at the Saturn-Jupiter square that is coming up in August. It's going to be exact on 19th of August, but we are going to be having three hits actually altogether. So it's going to be coloring a good 9-month period altogether. If you like the video, please press like, subscribe to the channel, show a bit of love that you appreciate my work, and that would mean a world to me as well. And this time around, in a separate video, I'm going to be breaking this down for the 12 signs as well, for everyone, not just my YouTube members. But if you want or you would like to receive certain type of additional guidance, for example, through a YouTube membership program where I'm going to be giving you additional 10 videos a month, then you might want to be joining my YouTube family. You just have to pay a little bit of a fee, press the join button, and then you will get quite a collection of weekly forecasts, some webinars as well, and so on. An announcement I would like to make, and that is going to be about a webinar that I am going to be holding, and that's going to be the nodes in the relationship. So we're going to be looking at how the nodes playing out in synastry. And another interesting webinar that I'm going to be having is the asteroid signatures of healers. So the nodes in relationship will take place on 3rd of August, and the asteroid signatures of healers going to be taking place on the 10th of August. So if you are interested, check that out on my website, AstroViktor.com. Now, let's get started with this Mars-Jupiter conjunction, which is going to be squaring Saturn at the same time. And I wanted to make this video in advance, as surely it is the most prominent aspect of the month. It is pretty strong from about 6th of August onwards, when Mars and Jupiter are 3 degrees away from each other. The exact conjunction between Jupiter and Mars are going to be taking place on the 14th of August. And at that moment, Jupiter and Mars are only 1 degree away from Saturn, and the exact square between Saturn and Jupiter is going to be taking place on the 19th of August, which is actually very interesting because we're going to have a Leo lunation happening as well on that day. So, of course, it's going to get highlighted, but I'm going to be focusing quite a lot now on the Jupiter and Saturn cycle combined with a bit of Mars flavor. And of course, I'm going to be making the lunation reports as usual a little bit later in August. So let's get started. First of all, you will be seeing pretty much the impact on you in the first run from about 6th of August until about 29th of August, if we consider the Hellenistic rules, which are about 3 degree orb. So if the planets are within 3 degree to each other, then actually they are impactful quite a lot. Of course, if you are working with a bigger orb, that's completely up to you. And then you might be feeling the impact of this combination a lot longer. On a personal level, I would say that because this square is going to be happening on 18 degree, 17, 18 degree of Gemini to 17 degree, 18 degree of Pisces. So if you have got any planets on those, the first hit is going to be impacting you quite significantly. But as I mentioned before, we're going to have 3 hits. Now, the second hit will be taking place on Christmas Eve, that's December 24th, and Jupiter will be in that moment retrograde in the sign of Gemini, and the square is going to be happening on 14 degree of Gemini to 14 degree of Pisces. So if you have got any planet, most likely on 14 or 15 degree of the mutable signs, so Gemini, Pisces, Virgo, and Sagittarius, then the second hit will be impacting you quite significantly. Now, this is the middle phase of this transit. So with the initial contact between the two planets, it's usually just highlighting the area, maybe of attention, or at the same time, a potential growth as well. The second hit is going to be asking us to revisit some of the themes that it has brought up, maybe with the conjunction in 2020, December 2021, or the challenges around the initial square between them two. So in the second phase, we're going to have to reassess, adjust, or maybe even approaching things in a slightly bit different way. And then we've got a third contact between them two as well. And that's going to be happening 2025, January 15th. And that's going to be the final square between them two. And this is also going to be happening on 14 degree of sorry, it's not on 14 degree. I am making a mistake here. Sorry. Yes, it's on the 14th degree of the sign. So we've got a free hit type of energy, and that is extremely important. I'm going to give you a bit of hint here because sometimes we have to be deciding which planet is stronger. And we can do that by the essential dignity as well as the accidental dignity of the planets. So Jupiter is in detriment in the sign of Gemini. So therefore, it looks weak. Sometimes a detriment indicates that Jupiter is kind of locked up in a prison and it has to be re-evaluating life. Just imagine what you would be doing, in a prison. You would be thinking a lot. Probably you would be studying and so forth. So Jupiter is all about optimism, and the optimistic qualities are a little bit kind of filtered in a way. However, Jupiter is actually direct. And a planet being direct gives additional strength to the planet. Now, Saturn is actually retrograde in Pisces when the first contacts happen, so it weakens the planet slightly bit. And Saturn in Pisces is not particularly doing well. It actually has no essential dignity whatsoever. So despite the fact that Jupiter is in actually detriment in the sign of Gemini, it feels like it's a little bit stronger than Saturn, especially because it disposes Saturn as well in the sign of Pisces. So with the second hit, the story is pretty much similar, but this time around, Jupiter is actually retrograde. And the retrogression would indicate that we have to internalize something. We have to be maybe looking at the way we communicate and so forth, but it's still disposing Saturn, and Saturn is also retrograde this time around as well. So Jupiter is still stronger. Oh, by the way, sorry, I made a mistake. The third contact is not happening in Gemini. Actually, it's going to be happening on 1 degree of Aries to 1 degree of Cancer. So there, Jupiter is going to be extremely strong. So it looks like in this combination, Jupiter is the little bit of the winner. Saturn will be in Aries, which is the fourth position of Aries, and Jupiter will be in the sign of Cancer, which is the exalted position. And Jupiter is direct as well. So it will have a lot of influence over Saturn. So actually, what it could indicate is that it's going to be bringing you quite loads of opportunities because Jupiter is presenting the opportunity. But we need to be a little bit more calculative. We need to be a little bit more cautious with this. Now, let's break this down. The dispositor of Jupiter is Mercury. And Mercury is making a square to Uranus as well at the same time. So even though the first hit is presenting opportunities, I feel like there is some type of electricity going on in the air with this, but I'm going to talk to you about that. August seems to be a little bit more on the volatile side. Maybe loads of debates, loads of arguments. It's kind of like, the monkeys hitting their chest and who can roar louder, who can shout louder, who can lie the biggest, who can spread the biggest gossips of all, and so on. So these might be some of the questions that pops up with this square. Um, Remember that we have got Mars also making a contact to Jupiter as well. And therefore it's squaring Saturn. And for me, Mars and Saturn is the warrior, the long distance runner, the action movie hero. So it's not always about bad things, actually. I think Mars and Saturn aspects receive a very bad reputation. But this is all about, just think about the action movie heroes. They are fighting against many people at the same time. They possess an extreme amount of strength. Often it happens, let's say in the action movies, because, I don't know, their children get kidnapped or the wife gets killed. Yes, it comes with certain type of frustration, surely. It comes with an element of a revenge as well. But at the end, they tend to be winning. So this is definitely for me, this aspect is going to talk to you about how determined you are. It is a reminder for you to build strength. It's about emotional strength, physical strength, mental strength as well at the same time. And yes, because we've got the Jupiter Mars, which is all about pioneering, as well as pretty much kind of like chasing our own dreams. It's possible that we're going to be running into some type of obstacles at the same time, but we've got the strength to overcome those obstacles. Or Mars is telling us that we need to be, sorry, Saturn is telling us that we need to be a little bit more on the patient side. So let's wait for the right opportunity. Do not jump into some type of situations that you might regret later on. Jupiter is the planet of opportunity. And with Mars, it's very important that we look for those opportunities. But it's Gemini. So we need to learn a little bit more. We need to analyze these opportunities. We need to be able to kind of think them through. So even Gemini wants that, and Saturn is kind of like telling us to be a little bit more on the cautious side. Jupiter magnifies things. So it can give you an amount of strength because Mars is about strength. It's about, as I said, muscle building. It's the planet of winning mindset with Mars in Gemini. But probably this is also telling us that we need to celebrate the moments as well. Or we need to understand that losing a battle is actually not the end of the war. It doesn't mean that you are not going to be, like a pop star. Interesting that this aspect is happening during Olympic Games. I think there is going to be plenty of records broken with this. And probably there is going to be certain type of scandals as well about, drugs and stuff like that. So I'm kind of waiting for those type of news as well. But once you put effort into something, eventually you are going to be receiving the reward for it. I just made recently, maybe yesterday or a couple of days ago, a post about Saturn and Mars as aspects. And the very positive sign, because Saturn rules diamonds. And with Mars, it's a rough diamond. So why Saturn rules diamond? Just think about how the diamonds are forming, and then you will understand why Saturn would be the ruler of diamonds. Um, and yes, but with Mars, sometimes this is more on the rough, the rough edges. So we need to train that, especially in the sign of Gemini. We need to be kind of prepared for it. We need to be having a plan. We need to explore our own talents as well at the same time. So, for example, Jupiter and Saturn cycles are often quite political. So I'm expecting some major political debates coming up. But one of them is going to be sweeping the other one off of the floor, surely. This is kind of like the energy I'm feeling here. On personal level, this is telling you to be brave. if you want to be lucky, because Jupiter is the planet of luck. And there is no luck, there is no winning without putting any effort into something. But I don't think that Saturn would want us to take a big risk, though, or to jump into something uncalculated. This is more about going for something that you truly believe in. Saturn is the planet of crystallization. So it wants you to crystallize your own dreams. And these dreams might have popped up sometimes in 2020. I'm going to talk about that in a short while. Usually because Jupiter magnifies things, I think there is a massive thing that is going to be going down. And this could be something to do with the politicians stepping down, even unfortunately, again, some type of violence against the politician as well. For me, this is kind of like picking up the sword, and then we are fighting for our own belief system with Jupiter and Mars. And then Saturn comes into the picture and then says, slow down. Maybe look at it from a different angle. With Jupiter and Mars, it's all about initiating something with loads of passion. But we do run into certain type of challenges. And it doesn't mean that you cannot actually fix those, you cannot solve them. It can also tell you that loads of good things are about to come towards us, but many good things are not always good at the same time. So Saturn wants us not to be too greedy, not to be too pushy as well at the same time. So being too opinionated, not being able to listen, not being able to understand, or we just talk, we just preach, and we don't practice things at the same time. So Saturn wants this combination to be serious. Saturn is the planet of tests. So Saturn will be testing whether you are ready to give form to something you have been talking about. You might believe in something, but you just talk about it and you do not practice it. And maybe this combo is telling you that action is louder than any type of words. So there is that reminder there that you need to be using common sense as well. This is a reminder that we need to look at things in a realistic way also. Maybe many of us will want to start something fresh. And with that Saturn, it's all about, rolling up the sleeves, working extremely hard towards those goals that we want to be achieving. To know that your strength needs to be consistent. So we are not going to start running the marathon with full fling because you're going to run out, the engine is going to break down. So spread your energy out. Don't use all your strength up immediately. I mean, of course, because Mars is part of it, we can be running into certain type of conflicting situation. And Saturn wants us to slow down, to think it through, to look at whether you are too opinionated. Maybe you have got a lack of open mindset. Maybe it asks you to count to 10, thinking things through, what others are telling you as well, because there is truth in everything as well. And also, this is kind of telling me that certain type of truth will come to the surface as well. Maybe this is an aspect which tells you that, yes, sometimes it's hard to admit that we were wrong, but we need to do that also. Now, Gemini Pisces are dual signs, and duality would talk to us about a decision making, being at a crossroads. And with Saturn being in the sign of Pisces, it looks like we're going to have to make certain type of sacrifices, whether to go left or right. And Jupiter wants to go both ways because it's all about chasing adrenaline with Mars. It's about having experiences. Maybe you don't want to give up on any of that part of the road, but Saturn will ask that you need to be giving up on one. And as I said, by directional strength and so forth, Jupiter is stronger. It's very possible that we're going to be walking the two roads at the same time. And unfortunately, that's when Saturn is going to be coming into the picture and bring certain type of obstacles for us. Maybe you also need to ask, with Jupiter and Mars in the sign of Gemini, duality. That is it really your fight, or someone else needs to be, doing that fight? Do I need to be a part of it? Often what happens is because Jupiter is the planet of plenty, and with Gemini choices, we've got loads of choices. And Mars is pushing us to make a decision. So probably it's not even just two choices that we have got laid in front of us, probably five, six at the same time. And I don't know what to do. So this aspect is also talking to us about mental clarity as well at the same time. So, of course, this is all about the Saturn Jupiter cycle. We had the conjunction in 2020 December on 0 degree of Aquarius. What's very interesting that Pluto is exactly there now as well. So whatever went down in 2020 on a personal or on a global level as well, 20 December, beginning of 2021, that might get revealed here. Or maybe it's the realization that, you know what, that is not working. That didn't work. This conjunction happens every 20 years, and for about 200 years, it happens always in the same element. So we pretty much started the air era. And the air is about humanity. It's about goals, technology, human rights, and so on. So probably we're going to start seeing some major changes around all those type of topics. But Pluto being retrograde on that 0 degree might be telling us that we need to be changing our plans because the way it goes ahead at the moment is not necessarily working. With that Saturn, Mars, Jupiter, surely we have run into certain type of challenges. So we need to modify our own plans. And often Pluto destroys something and then it has to be rebuilt. It has to be made better. So, for example, imagine that certain type of technological advancements that got introduced in 2020, 21, and then it gets tested and then it blows up somehow. So it has to be rebuilt, it has to be reviewed, and so on, because it's not working. It doesn't do what it promised at the beginning. So Pluto will reveal something about these type of topics that is actually not working in your life as well. So, I mean, obviously, I cannot miss the fact that we had COVID in 2020, 21, obviously, it was blooming quite significantly still. So does this mean that we're going to have, certain type of pandemics coming back towards us, or we are going to be receiving certain type of information about the pandemics, about the vaccines we had. And I don't want to talk about this because I know this is a sensitive topic for too many people, but this is one possibility. So I think with this Jupiter Mars, we badly want to understand things. We want to be studying something. We want to be communicating in a very passionate way. Maybe we're making too many assumptions. We have got too many information that we are passionate about. We want to pursue. And Saturn tries to sort these out for you. Try to slow the brain down. Saturn might want you to ask questions, maybe big questions. Saturn also tells you that you don't need to be so hungry for knowledge all the time. So just do it slowly. But at the same time, surely this is about staying open to new horizons as well. We need to know that nothing is handed over to us on a silver plate. So we have to be working hard for it. Also, Jupiter and Saturn is a business cycle as well. So maybe a lot of new ideas about business opportunities. With Saturn, we are maintaining something. I feel like it's about clearing the air. Saturn wants us to be a little bit more on the grounded side, because otherwise Jupiter, Mars in an air sign would be flying. Very interesting that Saturn is the ground and Jupiter is the flying. So actually the air industry could be quite significant this time around, such as maybe the price of the airlines, or maybe an airline is going to be selling themselves, or maybe even an airline could be going busted as well at the same time. And it might be because they had been given the opportunity previously to join someone, but they refused to. And unfortunately, it would indicate that that's the end of the journey. This is the type of situations I can imagine with this. Sometimes the problem with Jupiter and Mars that it whispers something into our ears. Oh, go for it. It's going to be okay, and so forth. But Saturn is going to give you the challenges so that you don't fall for it. With Saturn Jupiter, that's a political cycle. So clearly it indicates that some of the political decisions that we might have made in 2020/2021, maybe we're going to start regretting that. Huge political changes that are coming up for us. Also, in 2020, we had certain type of shortages of products, and Saturn actually represents the shortage of products, while Jupiter represents the extra and the excess amount of products. So Jupiter in Gemini could represent that we've got too many phones, or too many cars, or too many public transport, or and so forth. And then Saturn in the sign of Pisces could represent the shortage of fish, the shortage of water, the shortage of, in a way, shipping, and so forth. I feel like with the air sign, this is about collaboration. It would really talk to us about certain type of border changes as well. Saturn in Pisces could really talk to us about border changes. I also feel like that in 2020, the travel industry has changed quite a lot. So this is going to be running into certain type of issues, and the education industry changed quite a lot as well, because loads of things started to happen online. So this could even talk to us about education system, crashing, and so forth. I could also imagine that a country will be announcing that they are not attending a big event. So, for example, I'm pulling out of the Olympic Games, for example, or something like that. Also, I mean, it would be affecting the EU as well, of course. So, guys, this is the first video I'm going to be making about this. I will be making other videos, most likely about this, because I've got a lot more to share. But I just wanted to give a little bit of an introduction to this. So I will see you soon. Take care. Bye-bye.